When the owner of the company is famous for saying, "I'd like to have every boat I build outlive me," what sort of a line of boats do you end up with? Now, they aren't the most well-known famous designers in the world, but where they are known, they are cruising royalty. One of these boats, just a 28-footer, earned a Guinness Book World Record for not one, but two single-handed Atlantic crossings by a sailor named Monk Furnham, who did the first crossing at the sprightly young age of 72, and his second single-handed Atlantic, 76. This week on Everything You Need to Know, we're talking about Shannon Yachts. The man who said, "I'd like to have every boat I build outlive me," was none other than Walter Schulz. And remember that name because he is the one who made this all possible. Walter wanted to build cruising boats with nothing short of exemplary quality and capability. With his dream of building the best cruising boats in the world, Walter set out in 1975 in Rhode Island, and he founded a company called Shannon Yachts. Now, he could have set out like everyone else at the time seemed to and built some sailing dinghies to sort of get his feet wet. Quite literally, usually. That's a sailing dinghy joke. But he didn't do that, and he also could have started out building 20-something footers, again, to sort of get a feel for the industry, but he didn't do that either. He and his pals, George Stadel Jr. and George Stadel III, penciled their first design as a 38-footer, meant to cross oceans, in the highest of quality and craftsmanship and build quality. Now, with this goal of offshore cruising, the 38 was a 19,000-pound beast with a full keel-hung rudder, boasting a true cutter rig, which even to this day is sort of the standard for that long passage offshore work. You could even get that in a full keel with centerboard option if you so chose. And they also made it available in a pilot house, which, not too bad as far as options go for the first boat your company would ever make. Walter is known as one of the last of a rare breed of not so much sailboat designers or builders, but sailboat craftsmen. A complete boat builder who would design the boat, pen and paper, invent the rig that he felt best suited it, create the hull and shape it and test it, and then use his own two hands to craft it. And finally, he would help in the production of all the production boats. 3 years after the 38, they crafted the 28, and that's the Guinness World Record winner. The 28 would be aimed at seaworthiness and comfort and stability across anything that the Atlantic could muster up. It got the same full keel treatment, but they opted to put the rudder and skeg further aft and cut away sort of the back section of that full keel. This served to make the boat much more exciting to sail, much more maneuverable than her full keel big sister, the 38. She got a large, tall rig to make her better in light winds, and a true cutter, again, to make it easier to balance the boat on those long passages. Lady K Sailing is brought to you by patrons, people who give a couple of bucks an episode to make this channel possible. A big shout out to this week's newest patrons. We have George, Tim, and this name I can't possibly pronounce. Thank you guys so much. Love you. From the very early days in the 70s, Shannon was recognized internationally for build quality and nothing short of exemplary. In fact, every article that you can find on Shannon uses that word, exemplary. In Frank Mate's book, The World's Best Sailboats, Volume 2, Shannon Yachts is in there. This attention to long-term use didn't end with that build quality either. They sought to make the boat easier to maintain when you're on the go under passage. For example, a lot of boats at the time, and even now, would have a huge, massive freshwater tank sort of built into the boat, built under the structure. This becomes a problem for maintenance because the tankage cannot be removed without cutting into the structure of the boat. Shannon opted for 3 independent, smaller water tanks on this boat, all of which could be removed easily. Now, while the decks of the 28 were balsa cord, few of them have ever reported any leaks or delamination, and the hull to deck joint is not only internally flanged, which is what you want, and glued with adhesive, but it's also through-bolted every 8 inches. Bulkheads were secured, and we've talked about this tabbing before, where the bulkhead meets the hull and the torsional twist that the boat has and tends to want to separate the bulkhead from the hull. Not only were they had a fiberglass strap running through the bulkhead, connecting it to the hull, but they also did very large tabbing, which is what all of our boats have. But they didn't just do tabbing, they did tabbing along every inch of the seam between the bulkhead and the hull, every inch. Now all this may sound great, but this amazing quality does come obviously at a price. I found a few 28s for sale on the East Coast. One actually is up here in Toronto on the Great Lakes, and they range from 50 grand for a 28 footer all the way up to 100 grand. This is a really good testament to the little cruiser. And here's another testament. The first boat they built, the Shannon 38 hull number 1, was last documented in Australia in the middle of its circumnavigation. Shannons have logged over 1 million blue water miles, and they hold more circumnavigations and ocean crossings than we could ever even count, mostly by teams of 2, typically husband and wife. But Shannon didn't stop there either. They went on to make a slew of boats, a 39 that actually measured 41.5 feet. I'm not sure what happened there. They made a 43, a 50, a 51, a whole slew of other boats as well, including a few power boats, all with one goal in mind: to give boaters legendary, always called exemplary, quality, and the stuff that we deserve if we're going to make ocean passages and circumnavigations. Scrolling through Yacht World listings, however, does present one problem if you're in the market for a Shannon boat, and that of course is price. We mentioned before. Here are some 43s that are for sale right now for $200,000 to $300,000. Here's a 47 for $350,000. Here are some 55s at north of $1 million. You'll notice, however, that these multi-million-dollar cruisers don't look anything like the competition. Thinking of Oyster and Swan, these things don't have a twin helm with a fold-down transom and big luxurious cockpit. Shannon does cruisers, solid, world-traveling, ocean-going, trust the boat under you, cruising boat, and it shows. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I will see you guys next week. Stay safe.